These founders are building a production company that is redefining access for Black and Brown creatives in the community. Now, the question is, will they walk away with the $5,000 in the end? I don't know. You decide. My name is Cynthia Mwansa.
My name is Wangari Moringa.
And I'm Gary Barquette.
And this is Open Invite.
All right. My name is Kai. This is Fanci. We both co-founded Vanta Noire, which is a video production and marketing company. Our mission with that is to bridge the POC gap between Seattle and Atlanta. My journey as an independent artist, independent creative, has been from Arkansas to Atlanta to Seattle. I spent a little time in New York, a little time in different places. And two of the biggest things that I had to come to terms with is just how insanely difficult it is to be a creator, especially a brown and Black creator from the middle of nowhere. Coming out to a city that you are not known, you don't have any connections, into somewhere like Seattle that seemingly is perfect from the outside. It has the funding, it has the respect for the culture, for the art, but the reality is not as pretty as that. So Vanta Noire became my mission to pretty much do for us what I would have wanted to be available to me when I first moved here. I think through the many relationships that I've made, especially with Black people, I've heard the same thing time and time again, that the community out here is not that big. You are forcibly removed from certain industries, certain rooms. And when they want you there, it is solely to clear certain criteria so that they can collect more funding. And then these projects go on to be about Black people, about brown people, but you have a tiny credit at the bottom of the screen, and you hardly get any real active experience. You hardly get any type of connections from that. So Vanta Noire, we aim to become a hub that not only centers Black people, allows us to tell the stories that we want to tell, but also is a safe space for us to do these things and to take the time to learn. I've worked with people from extreme professionals to absolute beginners. There's a lack of professionalism, there's a lack of respect, there's a lack of even knowledge on how these things work. There's so much talent in Seattle as a whole. People out here are amazing. They just need a little bit of direction.
My name's Fanci. I have a background in business development, marketing strategy, creative production, and also event production. And when Kai came to me with the idea, I'm also a Seattle native, so I understand. I am engulfed in the Black culture that we have here because it is rich if you know where it's at. And when Kai came to me with Vanta Noire, I understood where he was coming from because I've heard a story about being from not being from here and not knowing where to find Black culture and how to work with it and find people to respect us as creatives and give us what we deserve, especially as creatives. And so I hopped on board immediately because I knew what skills I can bring and how we can both with our backgrounds be able to reach the audience that we are going for.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So, one of the things that I always ask founders in the beginning is really about what seed or what spark led you to creating what it is that you're creating, right? Because that shapes a lot of where it is that you go as an entrepreneur and as a founder. So where was that initial spark for Vanta Noire?
The initial spark was honestly just my own personal journey. Like I said, I spent a little time in Atlanta where I found a mentor. That was my first time kind of really getting accepted, getting shown the ropes, and I was allowed to fail, I was allowed to make mistakes, and it wasn't this disastrous thing to the culture shock of moving to Seattle, and that's just kind of just gone. Yeah. You were expected to be perfect, you're expected to perform, with you being Black and brown, you're expected to do it 2 times as good as your neighbors. So upon seeing that, and also knowing that I have the skill set, I started my own company, which was Surreal Productions. I run that full time as a full-time creative. I have plenty of people who reach out to me wanting to learn. They're very eager. It's very hard to fit them in because I don't have the time to teach you. I don't have the funding to bring you a part of the project, especially when you don't know how to operate the level of gear that I'm operating. Sometimes I'm walking onto set with $15,000 worth of gear. I can't really hold your hand in these type of situations. So just having that on my own dissatisfaction with how the community kind of operates, and also being honestly just a little sad that like I can't incorporate everybody as much as I would like to. I would love to extend a hand to people to uplift them the same way that I was uplifted when I moved to Atlanta.
I heard you when you first got to Seattle, you were talking about how you wish there were some things or some elements available to you as a creative. And you kind of hit on it a little bit, but what is it specifically that you wish was available, or the gap that you see in Seattle? And it sounds like that you're working towards filling.
First off, kind of funding for like my own independent stories, just access to resources, and second or lastly, I mean, community. When I first got out here, I had to kind of bumble my way around to kind of figure out who should I know, what should I figure out. I have to figure out the things that I don't know to even understand that I didn't know them in the first place. So it is not very kind of beginner friendly. It took me, because I've been out here 5 years, it took me about 2.5 of those years to really even get the ball rolling on creating these relationships. A lot of empty DMs, a lot of empty emails. And then to the point that I'm at now I'm aware of grants, I'm aware of funding, I'm aware of systems, but I'm also aware of just at the speed that these systems are also not only being gatekept to outdated systems, but also being removed just as quickly.
Yeah, that's really good. I was gonna ask, what does impact look like in Vanta Noire? Like, what is like the plan? Like, what do you plan on doing? I heard something about Atlanta very briefly, and I just wanted you guys to both share on that as well.
So we plan on bringing youth, or I mean, actually just bringing Black creatives into our space so that we can expand the knowledge in the city. Like Kai was saying, when he got here, it was hard for him to get opportunity, but also space for failure. Especially as a creative, we don't want to have to be perfect because there's so much to learn. What I will be teaching is marketing, communications, and how making sure they leave with the knowledge of how to build a sustainable business and not just strengthen themselves creatively.
So we have already talked and kind of planned about the system. We want either a 2 to 3 week course kind of available that is also paid. We've already talked about how we would distribute the funds, production funds, and also being able to pay people to learn. The usual flow of industry is that you get into it by PAing, which is free work, and this is not part-time. This is 8 to 10 hour days where you are running stuff, grabbing snacks, doing everything under the sun. You're not being paid for it. And you're also not learning because you, for the most part, as a PA, also have to stay out of the way. So we want to bring people into it. We have instructors lined up. Me being one of those instructors, I will teach you how to operate cameras. I have 2 cinema cameras on display right now. My flagship camera, which is the Ursa 4.6K, and then a Pocket Cinema 6K. So if you don't know a lot about cameras, the Cinema 6K is kind of akin to a Red or akin to a Ari. So this is not as kind of demanding as a Ari, but most importantly, the course and section of the curriculum that I'll be teaching will show you how to work with these kind of cams, how to shoot, what things do what exactly are production roles, and then you also will follow me in shadow, and then I'll get you real on-set experience. We'll do a couple projects that you can add to your portfolio that you can use to walk into these sets and still get started immediately.
Okay, that's dope. I was gonna ask too then, what does that course look like then? So you kind of explained it, but like if I were to register as a student, right, in your course, like my first day, like are we talking about online? Are we talking about in person? Clearly it's in person for the days that you're working on set, but like how many days? You said 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks?
So we're going for 3 weeks.
Okay.
We want to start with learning and development just to understand like the gaps in knowledge in each person that's involved, because I think we're going for 8 people in the course. And we have Kai, who is in charge of teaching them on-site video, understanding how to work cameras, and I'm on communications in the business side to make sure you stay organized and you're not just shooting, but you're also building sustainable practice. And we also have another member, and he is in charge of advertisement and AI and incorporating those things. And so we're still working on how exactly we're going to bring that all in one space, but we do know that we are going to reach all those people in a way. So Kai will be on set for most of it. For me, I want to be able to teach them teamwork, because one thing that gets overshadowed is that people think you have to do it yourself to be able to be successful. But the most important part is understanding where you fit in so that you can make something happen with a group of people. So I would love to be able to bring people into one space and teach them how to use their skills to work with each other. And obviously for spaces, there's such thing as funding that's needed. So there's a little bit of rub we're still working on, but that's definitely the most important part for us right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's helpful context. And one of the things, Fancy, that you just mentioned was having these creatives build sustainable practice, right? As a creative, if I stepped into a specific course or program, I had about 3 weeks of actual coursework, right? My hope would be that after that 3 weeks, especially if we're thinking about sustainability, there would be some type of continuum after the fact, right? So what happens after that 3 weeks wraps up? Is there also anything tangible that people are walking away with? Are there materials? Is there a curriculum? What exactly are they leaving with? And how are you following up with them after the fact to make sure that they're doing well?
One of my main issues, especially as being a solo shooter for the most part, is manpower. So this course is not just a way um, to just give people like, or to just take the money or whatever. This is creating long-standing relationships. So I've worked with you for hands-on for 3 weeks. I intend to work with you moving forward because I am the owner of the gear. But you're also going to learn like how to get business insurance, how to get production insurance, so that you can go to somewhere like Glazers and not have to pay these insane premiums to rent stuff. Because a lot of people don't know that if I go and rent a camera that's $35 a day, if the camera is 3K worth of value, they're going to take a 3K deposit.
Oh, trust me. Oh, we know. We know.
Exactly. So I want to foster long-term working relationships so that not only are you helping me with the stuff that I'm shooting, you're learning how to shoot, but you also get to sit in a director's chair. You have a project and you have something that you want to work on. You have my full kit available to you and you have the knowledge to be able to apply that to your own projects. And I would love to show up and also be hands-on with you as well.
Yeah. I love the fact you guys have a game plan. And because one of the first things I wrote down was education. Like, how do they plan on educating?
Yeah.
It also seems like your skill sets are complementary of each other, which I like that holistic approach of being able to do the business side and then also the art side, because I think as a creator, sometimes I feel like people can be lacking on the business side or vice versa, right? So being able to have that complementary approach, I think is super powerful. And then you started to say youth. You had thrown the word youth out there. You backtracked a little bit, but I know youth, that says something to me because I'm a big youth person. I think, that's a big part because one thing, I work at a community center, right? And I notice there's a lot of kids who don't necessarily explore skill sets. They don't explore different interests outside of like basketball or what their friends do and stuff like that. So I think having more opportunities or even this workshop could be a youth oriented thing too. So just some ideas I'm throwing out there. Now, I'm a Seattle native as well. And then my mom actually lives in Atlanta. So I've had a chance to kind of bounce between the two a little bit. To your point, Atlanta's very entrepreneurial based. I think Seattle is an emerging place where it's starting to become more entrepreneurial, especially within, the confines of our culture. But I was going to ask you, like, what have you done in a very conscious effort, or what efforts have you made to plug into community or like plug into different networks of people to be able to get out of that? Because I think if you're not careful, like Seattle can be very isolating.
For sure.
But you have to be like, we're out here, to your point, Fancy, right? But you have to like be intentional about plugging yourself in. So I just wanted to ask kind of what that journey's been like of plugging into the network, if that makes sense.
It's been a very humbling experience, to be honest. As an introvert, I'm very inclined to just sit at home. So the first thing I had to learn when I got out here was to get out of that bubble. So a lot of the connections that I've made along the way have been get into spaces, networking things, film festivals. So you have Lexscope screenings. I was a part of M5 Creative before they shut that program down. But there's tons of like local events, networking stuff where you can constantly meet people.
No, thank you for that. And you speak to the funding barriers is what we're going to call them, right? If you know someone, you know. If you don't, you don't. How are you intentionally, yes, you're showing up to these spaces, but even in those spaces, it's still a if you know type of thing, right? Here at IMG, we obviously have a media company. And so we are also in a space where we're seeking resources and support in various capacities to be able to fund the actual creative work that we're doing here. And one of the barriers, one of the gaps has been the limited understanding, or better yet, limited visibility into what's actually available, right? And if something is available, it's still not necessarily always accessible, right? And so with that, we have certain systems in place within our context to ensure that we're able to still continue our work and our projects in spite of some of those barriers. What are you doing intentionally to make sure that you all are still able to build what you're building, even with things like funding barriers and or scarcity?
Um, with that, the approach of connection becomes more important. So I have quite a few I'm gonna just say personal connections and contracts with companies. So, like for example, I have an agreement with a company out in Seattle where I have access to an event space. So this will be where we will be facilitating a lot of these things. So while my angle for getting or while I still am partially excluded from some like of the major funding, that does not mean that on a boots to the ground level that I cannot approach these companies. I cannot leverage my skill set in order to create stuff that will benefit more people long run or long term.
What does this look like at full scale? Like, I know you guys want to do courses and everything, but like, what's the big vision here?
Big vision is multiple warehouses, one here, one in Atlanta. Enough visibility to warrant bigger grants, bigger projects. So the course is literally just the first step. After that comes, because we have a plan set in place to record the whole thing to offer a course later on. We're going to use that as a pitch deck to pitch to other grants because that's proof of concept.
Okay.
Once we secure higher funding, let's say we can get a 50K budget, now I can hire people that I have that I'm connected to in Atlanta and have them come out here. And that means that I can also do the same thing that I'm doing with the course, but on a bigger scale. I can hire people who have worked with me closely, who are interested, who have the skills to be a part of these projects. I can also pay them so that way it's not much of a risk for people in Atlanta to hire out here, and they can go out there and learn with these people. Because I have, if I was to name drop a good friend of mine, his name is Creed Smith. He's worked with Drake, Sukahana. He's an award-winning writer. He's done tons of stuff. He has his own PLC team. He's mentioned to me several times that he wants to come out here. The difficult issue becomes the distance, becomes the funding, and becomes justifying this stuff. The funding in Atlanta is solely based off of entertainment. So you have these very limited budgets that they're just going to shoot in green screen rooms. I want to bring so much of these people out here outside to what our back door is or our backyard is, and then do the same reverse the other way. Bigger funding, bigger projects, bigger grants means warehouses. Bigger warehouses means I can get more equipment. I can do more. I can rent stuff out to where the rental house is not going to bar you if you don't have a certain line of credit or certain things. We have systems and stuff or want to have systems and stuff in place that works with our insurance so that if anything's happened to the camera while you're learning, it's not the end of the world for you. You're not on the hook for it. We can just get it replaced. It's no big deal. We all understand how things go. So to come back and circle back on your question again, on a larger scale, I want to have multiple points, multiple warehouses, and I actually want to be a physical space that lets people come in, lets people learn. If we're going to lose Harborview, what's going to be the next big thing?
Is it Harbor Island?
Yes, sorry.
No, and that's really good, right? And a question that's coming to mind for me with that is being in multiple spaces. It's one thing to have multiple locations here in Washington, right? You take I-5 or take a different, highway and you're on the other side of town and you're good. Being here and in Atlanta requires a different type of capacity, right? Because you have that distance between where you are currently and where you also want to be. What capacity or personnel do you have even in Atlanta to ensure that there is synergy between what's happening here and what's happening in the other space in Atlanta?
Well, I would argue that it's not going to be much of an issue because we're kind of in a digital age. So a lot of my communication and management is actually done through email, through Google Meets. So I will always be available. I do this full time. I have manpower. Like one of our partners is in Arkansas, so still back at home. I'm doing the exact same thing kind of there. I do have personnel in Atlanta that I could just have oversee it. I don't think that I will need to physically be everywhere because I will always be one Zoom call, one Google Meet, one email away from being able to manage and take control of whatever's going on. But at the same time, I'm not super worried about it because I think that's kind of where the trust kind of comes in. I don't expect it to be completely perfect. I imagine that there will be a couple bumps to iron out, but that's just kind of going to come with time.
Yeah. And Fanci, I'm curious to hear from you from the business development standpoint, right?
Mhm.
How does that work for you all to be able to have your portfolio of not only clients, but also the folks that you're serving in community here? And of course, I'm sure there's a return that you are hoping for within the context of your work. What does your strategy look like to expand then to Atlanta from the business perspective or the business development perspective?
I believe starting here, like you said, like this is our first step. This is not something either of us have done before as far as bringing people in and giving them opportunity. And so I believe, like, as far as expanding it, because of Kai's connections, it won't be as complicated as having the idea and saying, okay, let's see if we can make it work. It's in the back of our minds that we know is a possibility, which is why it's a part of the plan. And I'm just going to be 100% honest. It will have to come with time, that plan that I understand. Right now, the focus is making sure we have the skills to do it in the first place, to make sure that we have the ability to push these people forward. I'd love to see how it turns out after we've been able to bring these people in and how much more we're able to do on in this part of town, and then what we can expand it to in Washington, how we can uplift them to be able to help us do it as well, and then grow from there. That's definitely what it
The
is.
reason why I focus more on not LA, Atlanta than I do LA or New York is because that is a predominantly Black community. So the way that my connections kind of work out there, they're already doing some of this anyway. So in getting the space, I have complete faith that in putting them in this position, they will be able to do what they're already doing. The productions that are being handled there is not just local to Atlanta, it's going to Lagos, Nigeria. It's exploring. It's getting everywhere else. We're just Seattle as a city is just not included in that list, so we just get overlooked. So my biggest game plan is to get us connected to that as well, so that way we can kind of explore these other areas as well. I want to connect the Black community as a whole into a network that is already functioning, already doing these things.
Well said. When we think about sustainability, we talk about funding, and I know funding is one of those things that's like a main topic. Securing funding, getting funding, doing more things to attract more funding, and even knowing how to go about getting some of those bigger funding opportunities. When you guys think about your workshop, some of the services or things you want to provide, is this more of like an income producing thing or more of a nonprofit type of approach where we want to give back and utilize funding from other people to then invest back into community? Just want to clarify there if that makes sense.
To be honest, that's a great question. It's a great question. And it's another thing where it's like, for me, I feel like once we do it, we'll have so much more understanding of what makes the most sense moving forward. At this point, the community's lacking more of us in a space saying, hey, look, I got opportunity for you. Let's go work. Or let me bring you with me so that you can learn. And that's why this is so important now. We would love to start and we'd love to know. Like, I appreciate nonprofits and I appreciate for-profits. So there's always a reason why you choose one. And being able to give creatives who are here, who don't have a chance, an opportunity to build themselves up to go after chances that they didn't know they had is the first step.
And when you say give, right? So does that mean that this first version of what you all are doing is going to be free? Or are folks having to pay to be
It's free. We want to pay them.
Yeah, we're
you're
paying
gonna pay
them.
them.
Yeah,
Okay.
the students are paid.
Okay.
So it's a complete switch of the normal structure of getting into film. Yeah, we're not
Interesting.
having them come through to do free work and then paying ourselves. The instructors get a small cut, but the rest of that funding goes toward the students and goes toward making sure that this is a easy process. So to answer your question earlier, ideally we want this to be a healthy blend of both, where the instructors can be paid or the course itself and the long-term goal of it can sustain itself while also remaining keep maintaining the same properties of nonprofits. We want to be able to pour back into the community. This is not about us making a come up or anything like that. It's just about uniting the community, and especially for our community, we're so hyper individualistic in a lot of industries and a lot of entertainment sections that we want to be the breath of fresh air that is not focused on getting to a bag.
Yeah, and I like that approach too, because to your point, a lot of businesses have that element. They'll have like a foundation that gives back in this way, but then we also still have our income producing machine over here. And finding that balance is a great thing, and not being shy to like lean into that too. Like, hey, we want to produce some income, and this is what our foundation does, because we have ways of giving back, but we also got to make sure we're getting paid, make sure our artists getting paid, make sure we're bringing quality people in to teach and expand and grow, right? So I could see the blend of both being a thing for you guys, and having multiple like revenue streams. It's important, you know, not just relying on those big grants, because they come and go, and we're seeing grants being stripped away. I think
There's a lot of funding scarcity.
a lot of funding scarcity, and it's become a more real thing
Very much so.
right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, that changes a lot, actually. The fact that you guys are trying to pay your students is incredible. I think that I also want to know and clarify, who is the creative that you guys are looking? Who is the person that this is for?
Anybody ranging from beginner level to intermediate.
Intermediate and
film or creative or just anything business related. You come in from a film side, you learn how to create. But what I'm gonna like, my specific part of the course is gonna be talking about how to create with film cameras, how to do certain stuff. But if I'm being completely honest, my main source of income is not necessarily production sets. My main source of income is local people, music artists, smaller brands, nonprofits, things of that nature. So you not only are you going to learn how to shoot, but you're going to learn what it takes to operate a business as a creative. So my dream for the students when they leave is to be able to know how to draft these treatments, how to negotiate, how to set your rates, how to price yourself, how to position yourself as a business, the level of professionalism that's needed to be able to do that for yourself. Even if you decided after the course that you don't necessarily want to keep working with me, but do your own thing, if that looks like graphic design, that looks like screenwriting, you will know kind of how to navigate as a businessman or a businesswoman.
I love that. I was gonna say too, because I was coming from like is it just for film? Because you're teaching people how to use the cameras and whatnot. But I know some people work on these sets as like you mentioned, PAs and just people that are helping in the background. What about if somebody wants to learn these things, but they're not interested in the camera work or whatever? Are you guys having different versions of these courses? Or is it kind of like a one size fits all kind of deal?
It depends on what their interest is. A lot of our stuff is definitely more like video marketing, video producing focused. There's a little leeway. Like if somebody came to me and wanted to learn how to write, I write scripts and stuff all the time. I shoot a lot of narrative pieces. I can help you with that. However, I'm just be honest with them. I couldn't get you too deep into like screenwriting or what that would look like for getting a book launched or getting your script picked up by Netflix.
Yeah. What about if somebody's like interested more in like a fancy role? Like you're not handling cameras.
Not at all.
You're doing
Absolutely not.
No, my lane. Okay.
Because I'm very much right here. I love looking at them. You know, like the pictures come out great. Love looking at film, but I'm not touching the camera. So if somebody wanted to learn from you, you know, they wanted to understand the business side of things, because that's an important piece. A lot of, I think, artists and creatives in general, I think, lose a lot of that love for it because of that aspect of it. So they bring on somebody like you, so they don't have to worry about it, you know, and they partner. And maybe it's just like, I don't even care about the business. I just want to know how to use a damn camera.
Yeah.
So is that something that you guys could see doing, having different kind of
For
things?
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely in the future, we want to expand this to be something absolutely incredible. But right now, I believe it's important as a creative to know business as a foundation, because if you end up doing things like signing contracts or working with individuals who know more than you and don't mind ripping you off, you'll be so much more vulnerable in those spaces. So with what we're doing, we're hoping to reach both groups together, because business is such an important part of everything that you're doing, you know, as a professional creative. This is not a hobby. So I mean, eventually there will be a time where somebody does just want to do video because they have a business partner, but right now our goal is to raise creatives up in both spaces.
So the holistic aspect of
Yes.
it all.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And how are you measuring success? How do you know that, or better yet, how will you measure success? And how will you know that this is actually changing somebody's trajectory?
It just takes one person. I'm a practical person. I like to crawl before I run. how I will know what is successful to me is if we get 8 people and at least one person comes and say, this really changed my life. I have no way of knowing how many other people that person will touch when they go on from there. And then hopefully scale up so that they can one day be thousands, if not millions. But for today, I just want to touch one person.
What I hear from you all is this is something that you're building and planning to do.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're building and planning, I would encourage you all to think about how it is you're going to measure that success, right? What methods are you using? Are you having those individual touch points after the 3 weeks wraps up? And then beyond that one moment when they wrap up, are you checking in after 6 months, right? Folks will let you know, okay, this worked really well for me, then to continue that. In this area, I don't think that I actually quite got a benefit. Then you all would know if multiple people are saying that, okay, let's probably adjust this a little bit, right?
Yes.
And so I asked that how specifically because I think that it will be really important for you all as you're building.
Oh, okay.
And to that, I'll say I have my AA in music production, and one thing that helped me was a syllabus and objectives. I like to know what you expect me to learn because then, as I'm watching you, as I'm being taught, I'm paying attention to what I'm actually supposed to be leaving with, and so what me and Kai have been building is a curriculum, and we're working on a syllabus as well because we want to be able to be very intentional about what we're going into and so that they know what they're expected to leave with. Because we don't want to just throw you in here and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to have some fun. It's fun, but it's work and it's our life. We take career. This is our career.
Yeah.
This is serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely approaching it in a educational way, I think would be the best way, at least for starting. And that's definitely how I'll be measuring it. I want them to leave with a portfolio. I like making worksheets and stuff. I want to be a teacher when I was a
tangible
child.
takeaway.
Exactly. So that's definitely my portion, and Kai will have his ways as well. But a curriculum, syllabus, that's where we're starting.
I like that too because you can start to paint this picture, essentially like a resume of being able to provide for funding and funders. Hey, here's what we're doing. This is who we're doing it for. We need more funds to continue to do this. Matter of fact, we want to grow this and expand this. We started off with 6. Now we want to do 12. Now we want to do 24. So that capacity, you start to build capacity through painting the picture.
And here's what those 6, 12, 24 are saying.
It's saying, and then also what I would consider right off what Sin was saying is like wraparound services. How will you continue to take care of these people and not just shake their hand one time and be like, yeah, good job, all right, see you later, good luck, what I'm saying, good luck, you gave me some of the skills, now go handle it. But staying plugged in, having that continuous outreach, that hand that's just always there of just like, okay, you can keep plugging in, here's some opportunities for you, I'm gonna introduce you to some people, we got continuing courses, matter of fact, you did so well, I want you to teach the next course. Now you're expanding your team, right? So just doubling down on what Sin was talking about, thinking about those outcomes from the beginning. I like the idea of a syllabus, measurable outcomes. Like that's a great way to go about it because you can unlock a world to just continue to get more funding to do what you guys want to do at a higher level.
Yeah. With that being said, I wanted to know what you guys are doing right now that is creating an impact or, at least gearing up towards this, crash course you guys are going to be giving here soon.
Runway.
So as it stands right now, I'm still in talks with the contract that I have about the space. So we're still, even if we don't get the funding for this, we're still going to put on something probably just on a smaller scale. I have my Super Productions business, which is pretty much my income generator. So if I have to pay for it out of pocket, then I still will. Because just having a space that I can facilitate something like this, it just unfortunately won't be at the scale that I would like it to be. But we're still, like, everything is pretty much set in stone for
and
about
what
this
exactly
course.
are you looking for in a space? Because you don't know who's seeing this, right? Someone might have a space who's like, I love this. So what exactly are you looking for in a space?
High ceilings.
These are low ceilings.
Square footage.
He looked at, he said, well.
Something that's just versatile because there's so many different sets, so many different things that I can shoot. So we want something that's good enough, that's big enough to house these many people. We can have food, it's comfortable, it's got electricity. We have high ceilings so we can put on any number of productions down from photo shoots to video shoots. And outside of that, because my section of the course won't be so much inside the space because we're approaching summer now. So this is the best place to shoot would be outside. So any park, any free thing, but also any shoots that I get from clients, because I get about 5 to 6 clients a month. So I'll bring these people also onto these shoots. So the classrooms themselves won't just be locked to a warehouse or a building. We'll actually be in the field shooting and doing stuff.
In what age range? Or does it not matter?
I don't think it matters too much as long as you can hold a camera. Like,
Right.
I think to be
Be
fine.
Let
competent.
me
Willing to
sign up
learn.
because at this point.
For me, I stay in the community. Like my whole
Mm.
life, I've thought about leaving so many times, and I can't.
You
I can't go anywhere.
Sorry, you're stuck.
But currently, I am working on some projects, some festivals, and things like that because it's so important that I stay connected to the people that are making noise and that are making sure things happen for the Black community out here. And I make sure to get me a mentor. So everything that I'm going to be able to teach is going to be directly from people that have fed into me, and also, you know, the other things that I've learned and what I've put into practice myself. But I'm constantly working, constantly growing, and talking to the youth, talking to the older people, getting wisdom from, you know, my elders, and yeah, that's basically
That's good.
basically it.
You guys are doing good work.
No, you guys are.
Great.
You guys are. Okay, well, how can people find you?
They can find us on Instagram. Kawasaki is mine. They can also find us at the Vanta Noire code at gmail.com. That's our email. They can also find me at www.kaliwatson.com, which is my website.
And Surah Production.
And for
Sort of
people that
production.
don't know, what does Vanta Noire mean?
Black.
I love it.
Good question.
Yeah, let's get some clarity there. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Of course. All right, folks, if you want to find out more about how to vote for Vanta Noire, stay tuned because we'll have those instructions at the end. We'll be back. Welcome back to Open Invite. You just heard from Vanta Noire, and now we're going to get into that pitch. Co-hosts, any thoughts?
Mm.
Black.
I love it.
You guys are doing.
That's fire. That's fire. It is. It is.
You know, real entrepreneurship is really about seeing the gap and doing something about it. And seeing them to doing exactly that, you know, in a space where I grew up, you know, being born and raised in Washington. I've always, and since I started my creative, you know, entrepreneurial journey, I've seen that gap, and I didn't think anything of it in a way that like I could solve it. You know, I wasn't solution seeking. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna find a space that works for me. Yeah, I was just navigating it. I just didn't think so. It's kind of like you kind of take it how it is sometimes, and that's what, again, real entrepreneurship is about: seeing the gap and doing something about it. So yeah, just really proud of those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing something.
Agreed. And given the industry that they're in, or Kai's in, right, and they're kind of coming together, I like the fact that Kai went and seeked out someone on the other side of things, him being on the film side,
The creative.
creative side,
Yeah.
and her being more on the business side.
That's
It's really smart.
perfect, yeah.
I like that. So they're being intentional about their foundation of that they're
Yeah.
trying to build upon.
yeah.
So I got to give kudos for that. You can tell they're still very early in their journey, right? It's
Very.
more of the ideation stage
Yes.
of like, we have these ideas, but what I will say is you can tell they've put a decent amount of thought into their ideas, and even having some answers behind, like, we want to do courses and we want to have this many people, we want it to be paid for them. Their head is in the right place. You know, they have the right intention behind what they're doing. It's just more so of an, okay, now to your point, that you said earlier, Kai, he's an executor, right? So now the execution of it all, that's kind of what I'm curious about, is what's next for them? What tangible steps are they really taking next to get some of these ideas off the ground? Are they going to be funding dependent upon some of their ideas coming off the ground, or are they able to get things rocking now and generate funding through getting things going? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I think that before I say my thought, would you guys say that because this is an ideation, right? This is still at the beginning phase of we are building this, or we are intending to do this, right? Is this showing up well theoretically? And do you anticipate that it will actually show up in the same way when it comes to the actual implementation?
That's a good question, and I'm kind of biased a little bit.
Okay, come on. Okay, speak to your bias. That's okay.
Yeah, I know them, you
Mhm.
know. Kai, I've worked with him on several projects for Grima, and he is an executor. I've never had to worry about anything on set. He even came with the ideas. He did all the things. He recorded. He sent me over, the videos ahead of time, and I I just don't have, I can turn off my brain, you know, as a person who's in business. It's when you're working with people and you're telling them to do a job, if you don't have to worry about the actual job that they're doing or have to micromanage, that's so important. And then Fancy in her own right has been a leader in the community. She's tapped into so many places. When you mentioned that there's 2 people coming today, somebody with Kai, I was like, I think I have an idea who that might be. And it was her. I was correct. And so those 2 together, I'm just like, in some cases, yes. Is at the idea stage when they're talking about it, it can sound like a lot of fluff. But I think for these 2 specifically, I can see them executing this, pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's hard for me to say, right? I haven't had the opportunity to work with him.
Yeah.
But what I would say is based off of the experience with him so far in the conversation, and from the pitch, he's someone that I would consider hiring for stuff that I do, right? Or plugging him in. He's someone I would feel comfortable enough and I feel like he has enough credibility. You know, he's someone I feel like I would have trust in or believe in to invest in and or give an opportunity to. So based off of what I'm saying, because, you know, sometimes that's what people need too. They need that initial investment. How long has he been doing what he's like practicing his craft? Are you aware of how long
years.
You can tell.
No, yeah. He's put in his hours.
He loves it.
Even that camera, right? Like that's a full-on
That's
film production level. That's a big dog camera. Yeah. So that again, credibility, quality. I can see some of those elements. And some of the things he hit on, right? He talked about Black professionalism. Those are things that I care about too, and I can tell it's important to him. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you guys. I think the reason I asked that question specifically was because obviously IMG is a media company, right? And so with that, there are so many nuances to the creative production space, right? Where ideas are great. And when you have to start diving into a space that is very much unpredictable, right? A lot of these things end up looking different than what you initially thought that they would actually look like, right? And so in that, given that they don't have a lot of manpower, you know, I know that, you know, Kai had shared about he is plugged into folks even in Atlanta and all that wonderful stuff, and he can plug in through, you know, virtual meetings, you name it, right? But this is one of those spaces where I do feel like it is important in most instances to actually be present because it makes a difference to be on set. It makes a difference to be in a space versus being in a virtual meeting to discuss whatever the production plan is, right? Because when you're day of, you break a nail. I know this is very ridiculous, right? But there are things that happen that, and yes, I know breaking it is so tedious and so ridiculous, but I'm just saying in terms of other things do happen, whether it be with the equipment, whether it be with the space, whether it be with access, you know, you name it, right? And so I ask about the theoretical execution versus, of course, I trust that they'll be able to do it. But what I did not hear were the actual steps to this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to confront these specific barriers if we run into them, right? These are the challenges we anticipate. Yes, funding is always a challenge. I feel like that's an easy one to name because funding is forever a challenge. What else? Because production is so unpredictable. We're in production right now. We had a lot of different things that happened today, right? So anyway, that's why I'm asking. Theoretically, is this great? Yes. I mean, in terms of like, it could be wonderful. Yes. Realistically, what does it really look like?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I feel like if to your point, the theoretical side of things, if they're able to pull off their workshops well, I feel like that could be an opportunity to cultivate talent, right? So that's something I was thinking about. Like, can they cultivate talent to bring onto the team, bring more opportunities to them, get hands-on experience, and then also what do those workshops look like? Is it a workshop or is it something else? Based off of what you're saying, it's kind of making me think in a way like, okay, can you start to bring these other puzzle pieces to your business while educating, you know, like the step-by-step. So I hear what you're saying, like, again, back to what we were saying, that ideation stage, which is the fun part. And then the next part is more of like, what are we actually going to do?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'm like, we could have some things built into the workshops where it's like, there's an opening. We can train you to be able to do X, Y, Z, especially as they're expanding their company. I think the workshop is a great place to be able to help somebody from the beginning or whatever stage they're at, intermediate stage, whatever the case may be, and get them to a point where I'm comfortable with this person running this sector of my business because I taught them. So that is actually so interesting.
Yeah. I was thinking what they're going to use that 5K for.
You just read my, stop reading my mind.
I was thinking about it.
Was it clear when he shared, was it clear about how they'll use that money.
I guess not directly, but I did mention it to him afterwards. I was like, hey, I wish we did ask you that question about the $5,000. And I was like, but I would be going into courses, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So, but then now, like, what does that look like? Yeah. So I think right now, I know he has a space at least, but I think it might be materials. I think that might be something along the lines of paying the students, the things that he was mentioning. I don't know all the different things because we didn't get all the details of what that course was going to look like because, like you said, it's an ideation stage. But I know that money is specifically going to the courses to teach these kids, or not kids. David did mention youth.
It could be
Yeah.
kids, yeah.
But these
I did have
people,
a question about
these
that.
individuals, yeah. So
Do you feel as though not having a defined age range is going to be a hindrance for them?
I think
I asked the question about age specifically because I know that my understanding at 16 years old, even if it was a camera that I can hold, is still different than my understanding when I was 24 years old, right? Now I'm an old lady. I'm not going to say my age. However, I've grown because of various experiences. The way that I'm able to even pull from certain things is different simply because of my lived experience as a older woman at this point, right? And I'm not a teenager. So will it be a hindrance for them not having a defined age range for who is actually the audience for these specific experiences?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
I literally was like, "Ooh,
really quick that.
that could be anybody."
It could-
But
yeah.
but at the same time, like I think if you're not gonna hone in on age, you really have to find a way of qualifications when it comes to skill level.
Yeah, the vetting.
Like a vetting process of like actually understanding what people's skill level is. Is it really ground level zero? Because there is an age on that where everybody could be starting from a similar standpoint, you know what I'm saying? But having an age defined, I think could be helpful too. Because there's because if you're trying to teach one-on-one level stuff, but you have a 400 level person in there, it's gonna make things very difficult. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think they should separate their courses. Like, I mean, like if you're a beginner and there's intermediate and there's, I don't know what that for intermediate was, that hard? High level. Expert, thank you. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, anyways, I was thinking about video games. But yeah, I think that having the separation is really good, but also, yeah, it's at least a bottom line. Because I'm thinking also too, right? There are universities that house 12-year-olds, and there's children that are able to keep up with the big dogs. So I'm just like, not having like that strict, because it could be a 12-year-old could get it with somebody who's 25, and they're learning the same thing, but the 12-year-old's beating the 25 by a
It's
mile.
an anomaly. I'm
So,
telling you.
I know, but I'm saying they're there.
That's that outlier
Right.
12-year-old who is a genius.
But that's why they should do the vetting, right? To make sure they can keep up, right? So it shouldn't just be like, all these little middle schoolers hanging out with people like our age, but there's that vetting process. So they're like, this kid gets it, and we want to help this person develop them and help them become what they want to become, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Okay. Any additional thoughts?
I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts?
I'm
over here going back and forth,
I'm asking y'all questions.
Yeah, you
I'm trying to hear what y'all gotta say. Okay. I think they're great. No, but on a serious note, I think they're great. I think that they have a really, really strong idea. And the way that I define a strong idea is it solving a problem? And it is, right? It's confronting something that we can all speak to personally, especially because of the region that we live in, right? It's necessary to create spaces like they're wanting to create by us, for us. That's important. Black, right? That's really, really important. And so when it comes to the context of their actual idea, I think that it's great. In that, there are a few areas of opportunity that I see when it comes to the implementation.
For sure.
If I don't know them personally, I don't have a personal journey with them, I can't assess from that pitch to say, I'm confident that they will absolutely execute.
Yeah.
I don't know y'all personally, right? You have the passion. Right? You have the drive, you have a lot of ideas for how you can bring this together. But realistically, if we did not have a personal connection prior to this moment, I'm not certain that I'll be like, absolutely yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
But with that though, it's necessary work. And I'm confident they're going to do well.
Yeah.
I am. Now, what that looks like and how it looks on the flip side, we don't know. Just have to find out.
Agreed. Agreed. Well said.
Thank you.
said.
See, I got a couple reflections.
That's why we wanted to hear from you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I plug them in, like a little bit of salt.
I want to say one last thing, though,
Mm.
to the point that I do know them, right?
Yeah.
And 100% I do get what you're saying. Like I could, if I didn't know, I couldn't be able to speak on this the way I did, right? But I also think that's really cool because like how you network and you get to know people and people can speak for you in different rooms.
Mhm.
Like they would have never known that I would be, one of these people talking about them here today, advocating.
Come on, you better
So
advocate.
yeah, but it's also we met each other.
did.
They're the ones that did the work. They did the networking.
Kai as an introvert showed up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Fanci, I met her one
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
but I've seen her social media.
Mhm.
And so I'm just like, they are putting themselves out there
are.
because I know them. And so I'm just like, they're doing the work. And I'm saying that I think it's really important that we continue to network, especially as Black
For sure.
creatives, because you never know what room that somebody can speak about you in.
And
And it
say,
could-
I'm confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's relationships
And fill the
and
gap.
reputation.
Yeah.
It goes so far, and that's exactly what you're speaking on. So, well said. I agree.
Thank you.
Come on, relationship. All right, y'all. Well, folks, you've heard the pitch, you've heard our discussions, and now it is your turn. If you would like to vote for Vanta Noire to walk away with the $5,000, go to imgmedianetwork.com to cast your vote. And remember, you have 7 days after this episode drops for you to cast your vote. After that, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.